Miggy's going to real quick like sand the micro. We're just going to give it a quick sand, less pressure than we used on the what's called on the epoxy, because we're not trying to sand any imperfections off. All we're doing is we're just sanding off any spots where there was too much micro finish. That's it. And then he's going to sweep it, and then we're going to put Hydrostone on it. Hydrostone is the second of our stain. It is a solvent-borne dye stain.
May ano
When I say
pangalan
dye
nito?
stain, I mean if you spray it on anything.
Yung itong machine daw.
Including
Wool board.
I can get it off, I just wash my hands, it's fine. But if you were to spray it and it dripped, or if it dripped on a customer's driveway that you're not doing, that's going to be permanently there. So you gotta be very careful. Always carry a rag with you. Make sure you have it under your
Abrasion,
sprayer.
sander.
You know, any of these applications, if you're doing large jobs, you're not going to be doing it with a little pump-up sprayer. You're going to be doing it with either a big pump-up sprayer or a backpack sprayer. If you're doing Hydrostone, you need to make sure that you have a solvent-resistant backpack sprayer. Hydrostone will improve the regular seals on just like a water sprayer. So they make special solvent-borne sprayers. Grab one of those. Always make sure you have good equipment. You know, the success of your job is going to depend on the success of your equipment, whether it be mixers, rollers, sprayers, all kinds of stuff. That's good, Minnie. Now just sweep that off, please. Okay, so Hydrostone comes in 19 different colors. Most of them, again, are going to be kind of earth tony. But there are some brighter greens, there's some brighter oranges, there's some brighter yellows, blues, things like that. What we're going to use is antique umber, or burnt umber. It's kind of an orange color. It's my favorite one. I really like it. The other really popular Hydrostone colors are saddlebag brown and leather tan. We're going to dilute this as well. We're going to dilute it, though, using Hydrostone reducer. We are not going to use water, because it's solvent-borne. If you use water, it tends to clump up in the sprayer, and it really reduces the performance of your material. We did that in India because we didn't have any of this, and it was a nightmare. We clogged up 5 sprayers doing one point. So it's really bad. Dilution rate, again, I'm going to do 3 to 1. I like 3 to 1 is always a good starting point for diluting out your colorants. Could you go higher? Yeah. Just depends on how much color you want. Could you go lower? You can with certain colors. Certain colors you need to use right out of the jug. They're going to be your highlight colors like jet black and charcoal gray. The reason for that, if you start to dilute them out, they start to change colors. The black turns purple and the gray turns green. We don't want that. We have purple, we have green. So use those if you want those colors. So charcoal gray, jet black, just use as highlights generally, straight out of the jug. Coverage rate is going to be about the same depending on what you're using it on. Would I use this on a stamp? No, never. Would I use this on the wood grade? Probably not. I'd use Ultrastone or Chemstone. Would I use this on that? I could. Theoretically, I could use it on this and I wouldn't have any issues. This is a preferred application over microfinish because microfinish doesn't have any highs and lows. This isn't a flowing pigment. This is a dye stain. Where you put it, it dyes. Okay? It doesn't need time to flow down from high points to low points and things like that. Over microfinish, you're going to get upwards of 30 square meters per 4 liters diluted out. So this one jug, if you dilute it out 3 to 1, is going to give you 120 square meters total out of this one 4-liter jug. But you got to remember you need 12 liters of reducer. Reducer and Hydrostone. Hydrostone sold in gallons. It's sold in liters. So it's sold in 1 liters, sold in 4 liters. It also comes as a powder pack. You won't see that very often, but you can get it to where the powder that creates the color, you just add 1 pack to 1 4 liters of reducer, and then you have this. Then you reduce it out again. Because the reducer is the same solvent, same chemical that's in the Hydrostone. It's just not colored for convenience sake. Because you can't dilute Hydrostone with Hydrostone, you need to use just the clear reducer to dilute it out. But you can turn this into this in the field with powder packs. You won't see that, like I said, very often. It's just easier to get the pre-colored and then have your 5 gallons of reducer, pour out 3 gallons of reducer, pour in your 1 gallon of hydrostone, mix it, fill up your sprayer, and do large jobs. All right, I'm gonna mix it again. Like I said, 3 parts to 1. How much do I need? I don't think 16 will be enough. 16, 24. All right, so I'm gonna kind of eyeball this. We're gonna call that 6. I'm going to take that up to 24. Now you see that the color doesn't really change. The reducer doesn't really do anything other than make your material stretch further. But there is a difference. If I sprayed this straight on the floor versus the reduced one I have here, you'll notice a color difference with that. Now because that is a solvent based, I clean it with Exit. You don't have to, you can clean it with water, but it's not advisable. Like I said, it tends to make things clump up. This one I need to be a little bit more careful with. Okay, we get that board swept off. Anybody's wondering, we're going to fix this. This is an example of the one side dried too fast. I don't know how, I don't know why. Didn't get a chance to do any of its leveling and flowing. So I'm going to come back through after we do our white wash or our gray wash on that. I'm going to add a little bit more pigment. I'm going to hit this one more time in the high areas, just to try and blend the color back together, because that looks like crap. This one is still drying. You can still see there's material in certain areas. You can see different colors. Granted, this light doesn't help much, but you can tell that there's going to be some oranges here. There's some maybe even greens, because there is yellow in this, and you can get a little bit of green out of it. It's kind of hard. More so you're going to get reds, yellows, oranges, browns, blacks. But sometimes the browns, if they float out quick enough in certain lights, they look kind of green. And there's green in nature, always. So, I need a rag, please, just so I don't make a mess. Thank you. Again, I'm going to test my sprayer. Okay. We're going to spray the hydrostone out. Again, we're not really puddling the material. We don't want puddles. I'm just giving myself a nice 100% coverage rate. Now your spraying will affect your drying and your pattern. I'm doing side to side, and that will be in my board a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. You'll see some areas where I just did that, where it'll dry like that. And it's part of the antiquing process. Now could I do straight lines? Yeah. I prefer to add a little bit of flair to it, have a little bit. You'll see some of these areas where I was going back and forth, they're going to be a little bit heavier, a little bit darker. And that's okay. Alright, we're going to leave this alone. Again, I'm just doing the edges. I wouldn't want to come back now and spray more into the middle. It's starting to do its thing, it's starting to die, it's starting to stay like that. The way it looks now is the way it'll look when we seal it with, say, epoxy. It looks pretty close to this when we seal it with CSS. We sealed it with WCS first to lock that color in. When it dries and it dulls out, that would be what color it is. A good way to test that, whether it be hydrostone or chemstone, which I'll touch on chemstone in a minute, is once this is completely dry, take a rag with a little bit of water and just put a little bit of water in one spot. That'll bring that color back, that'll be your final color. If the homeowner likes that, go ahead and seal it. If the homeowner doesn't like that and they like how it looks dry, put WCS on it, let it do its thing, it'll cure, the color will stay duller as the waterborne solvent or waterborne sealer dries, and then you can come back and put CSS over the top of it for strength. Okay, so we're gonna leave this alone, let it do its thing. We're gonna come back to the wood. That can't be cleaned up with salt, so. We're gonna come back to our wood and we're gonna scribe our lines. So if you boys wanna grab our tape
Hubog na mga emperador.
and our streets.
Yung touch pa niya